to not get any closer to that. The other thing is we all know that our children are not going to school full-time, 5 days a week. There is tons of evidence out there and research, in fact, even in the state of Massachusetts, that longer school days make children more successful and they're having better results. In fact, Time Magazine, which is a national magazine, used the state of Massachusetts to promote that increased school time is resulting in better grades. Massachusetts is the pilot program for this type of study based on Governor Deval Patrick's Readiness Project. So there are communities in the state of Massachusetts that are going to school 8 hours a day. And we are the poster child in a national magazine, and the children in North Reading don't even go to school full time. So I ask you to remember that in your decisions as well. Our half-day kindergarten program only goes to school 4 days a week and not 5. Where our friends in Wilmington, because they received a grant under Deval Patrick's Readiness Project, have all their 5-year-olds in kindergarten going to school 5 days a week full time, and they're not paying for it. The reductions to our school day on Wednesday affects 2,100 students in North Reading. It did not affect the high school, but there's been many other effects. Right now there's reduced PE and physical education, art and technology in each of our elementary and middle schools. There's no instrumental music or chorus programs. There's no reasons for our parents and grandparents to come to our schools anymore and for the children to show all the pride that they have in the schoolwork that they do. I think that the holiday programs that were not happening in the school systems this year were a tremendous disservice to our children. The biggest concern I have as a parent of a middle schooler is the results of what no art for our 8th graders for the entire year, 6th graders, excuse me, and no music for 8th graders for the entire year means. Some might be thinking, so what? They're not getting their art and they're not getting their music, but guess where they are? They're sitting in study halls. In fact, Mr. Driscoll, who's sitting here, using his son Shane as an example, as a 6th grader, because we don't have our children in these arts programs, they're sitting in study halls. In fact, we've quantified how often they're doing that. 39% of these children's days are sitting in non-academic subjects. They're sitting in study halls with 75 children sitting at cafeteria tables proctored by one administrator. How much work and how much learning is really going on? I could go on and on, but I will not belabor the point. I'll put it in writing to you, as I promised that I would for the community as well. As I mentioned, our schools are broken, and we do need to make this a priority. My question for you is, given the fact that we know we need additional funds just for the school system, given the fact that there's a $280,000 deficit because of SPED, given the fact that you need hundreds of thousands of other dollars and snow removal costs based on the crazy weather we've been having, I would ask a couple of questions. Number one, is it possible to put a freeze on all budgets at this point so no additional dollars can be used for any single thing in this community until we get a handle on the crisis at that hand? And number two, I'd like to hear from each of the Board of Representatives about how much of the priority is in your life right now to make the education system in North Reading better and to put our children back to school. And the third question I have is, if that isn't your number one priority, I would like to hear what it would take in public to make sure it is a number one priority. Do you need a petition? Do you need us to flood your email? Do you need us to flood your home with phone calls? Do you need us to show up, hundreds of us, in meetings like this? What will it take to make education a priority in North Reading?
Thank you, Deanna. Comments? All right, I want to hear from the young lady.
Hi, Lisa from here. Hi, Patty Deming, 12 Barbary Road. I live across the street from the little school. Again, another school issue. We have a problem with traffic at the little school. The signs for the little school are put on the side of the road that the abutters live at. There are no parking signs on the side of the little school, which have sidewalks, which makes the children have to get out of the car on the street to cross to get there. Parking is taking place on both sides, and traffic is in both directions. Barberry is not wide enough for 4 lanes. As the abutter, we cannot get our mail. Post office tells us how many feet you have to have on each side of your mailbox. people block our mailboxes, our driveways. We've had people say, if you don't like it, move. Well, you know what? My property isn't worth anything if you can't get in and out of it. We've had people say, can I use your trash can to dispose of my dog's waste? We've had people park in driveways saying, she's not home, no one's gonna know. Something needs to be done. I did talk to Chief Nolan the other day. He said that maybe that they could open up part of the land going to the little school and have the people put around. But as this woman just said, the budget's tight. You're not gonna spend the money to make a new driveway. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but you have to stop the traffic on the abutter's side of the little school. The no parking signs need to be moved to that side, and you have to get those children on sidewalks, not in the street. You need to help us residents get in and out of our homes. I sat there for 15 minutes last week, beeping my horn, waiting for somebody to come out and move their car so I can leave my house. I don't know anybody else in town that can't get in and out of their home. So it has to come before you guys to have the signs moved, and then it'll be the police department to enforce the law. Don't know what else to say. If you want this copy from the post office.
Is this a problem this year, or has this
It's
been an ongoing
ongoing problem for years.
I mean, it's the first time I've heard of this. Any other board
so
members?
I
You have?
I have.
The paper not long ago about the little school, I've talked to the superintendent, I've got a camera full of pictures. The mailman has been nice enough to get out of the car a few times and deliver my mail. Speaking to the post office, it is against the law. They cannot exit their vehicles, they cannot double park their vehicles to get to a mailbox. So what he did for me was nice, but he can't do it anymore. There are times in the years past that I have not received my mail for a couple of days, and I know it's because people don't move their cars. This is wrong, and it needs to be addressed. And the more the busing fees go up, more parents are opting to drive their children, and it just makes the crowding even worse. I know the situation even goes on at the senior center, where people are blocking, where the seniors can't get in and out of their building. The Batchelder has the same problem. We need to address these issues. We need to get in and out of our homes, and I want to get an ambulance or a fire engine up there if I need it. 4 lanes, 2 lanes this way, and 2 lanes parked. It's just not working.
Okay.
Steve. Yeah, this is not a new issue. Again, it's been a recurring one over the years, in particular in the little school neighborhood.
It's a very small
Is the
street.
hardest hit. I mean, the Hood School has a long entrance and driveway going down there, so that the impact on the neighborhood is minimal. Middle school, on occasion, comes out around the driveway, but the little school for sure is the neighborhood that's most severely impacted by the
Have there
amount of
been
traffic.
attempts to, alleviate some of the
They put up the no
problem?
parking signs, and again, they put them up on the, really
On
on
the
the wrong,
side where
on
there's
the
the
wrong side of
sidewalk.
the, they put them on the wrong side of the road.
I've looked at it.
You know, they put them
Why
up on
can't
the
we get
side,
that fixed?
on the side with their
It's up
sidewalks
here.
rather than
What?
on the opposite side of the street. So basically, they have forcing people to let their kids out and cross the street, which is
Right,
crazy.
should be
It's a
the other
police-
way.
Be
it's
on
a-
the other side,
it's
but
a-
I think, I think it's not gonna be fixed, totally fixed, but I think, it can be relieved to some extent with, addressing the placement of the signs and probably some limited enforcement at peak hours again to make
Right.
sure that the
When it
traffic
rains.
pattern is changed and people get on the habit of allowing the residents to get in and out.
As of now, I have cones in front of my driveways. They run over the cones. They get out, they pick up the cones, they move them. They empty their ashtrays out. They throw in their coffee cups. People are really being inconsiderate. And maybe if it's on the other side of the street, maybe they'll think a little bit more because now it's their school, that they, not worried about what they're throwing on our lawn. I have a dog, a little dog, and I had a woman one day ask me to put my dog in the house because it made her dog bark while she was waiting in the car with her kid. We have rights, just like everybody else. It's crazy and it's rude.
Is this a morning or an afternoon or a both?
Basically the afternoon. The morning situation is good, and if they could maybe even change the afternoon pickup like they do the morning. In the morning, they drive into the school, they ride around the island, a teacher opens the door and lets the children out. And I believe at the back, if anybody can correct me, a child's name is put on the windshield of the car. They drive up, they call the child's name, the child exits the building and gets in the car. At the little school, it's a free-for-all. Everybody parks wherever. You must go into the building and you get your child so they don't exit by themselves. So that is the biggest problem, is people will park anywhere and everywhere because they have to go to the school and get their child. If it's one side, maybe they're forced to park down on Southwick, they're gonna have to walk. Maybe if they have to walk, they'll pay for the busing, and that'll help the revenues with the school department.
All right, well, I think we'll ask the town administrator to contact the police chief, and is it a DPW, the
department.
signs issue? And we'll talk to the school
Probably the police
department
department.
tomorrow.
It's probably the
Yeah,
police
police and
department.
the school as well, to see if there
Yeah.
isn't some kind of compromise that can be worked out.
The school department said it's a police issue, the police issue say it's the school department, and now I'm
Probably
here
a
in
little
front
of
of you. It's a bit of everybody,
Yeah. It's
but
probably a
when
little
they,
of both, that's why, and you need someone to kind of coordinate that. But let's see if we can. Let's see if we can't get the parties together and talk about possible solutions. One of the possible solutions, too, might be to actually talk to the post office about the route not being at the time when all of this is happening, see if they can't rework the route, so that you don't have that problem there.
we didn't have the
But-
problem when the schools were fluctuating, but now that the
Yeah.
little school has been 2 years in a row the same hour, it's kind of worked out that way. But I must say, at night, when there's a function in the school, they put cones all up and down where the abutters are, and we have no problems. Everybody obeys it, and they park on the other side,
That's what you
they
have to
park
do.
on Southwick, and they walk. But when they're picking up their children, like I said, they use our driveways, and, oh, you don't
Sure.
mind, or, yeah, we do mind, and we do want to get out.
Sure.
That's
Well,
it.
thank you.
You're
And, I
welcome.
think you
Thank
got
you
your
for letting me
message
speak.
across.
Thank you.
Gentleman in the rear, and then we're gonna move on with our agenda.
Thank you. Dan Driscoll from Western Internet Drive, also co-chair of NRUE, New Home Group of concerned parents in town. We asked to educate them in town. I'd like to second what Dan said in regards to your efforts involved in not just the schools and the budget, but everything else. I'm involved in a couple of different boards in town, and probably neither of which compares to the efforts that you guys put in, and I understand. That's a thankless job, and it's not a good job in a real way, so, in anticipation of everything you're doing, I just want to say thank you. I just wanted a couple comments, general comments, and maybe a question at the end, a question or a recommendation at the end. First, this is my general observation, is I don't think the pain with the budget process of the last couple of years has resulted in really brought this down. Based on, I don't know, based on the people who come to meetings, based on the letters, based on the committees that are being formed, the majority of the pain over the last couple of years has been the school budget. And that's not to say that every department in town hasn't been tightening their belts. There's a difference between tightening your belts and having the budgets in a particular area cut and dramatically cut. And Deanna touched on a couple of them. The one that's at the forefront in everybody's mind is half days on Wednesdays. I mean, if you just think about it, you can't even say that with a straight face. You talk about that with somebody at work, and they look at you in disbelief. I mean, sending kids to school for 4.5 days a week it's outrageous. I mean, you can't even fathom it. If you weren't one of the, I don't know the numbers, Deanna knows them all on top of her head, the parents of one of the 2,200 kids, you wouldn't understand it. It is. It's outrageous. It's immoral, and it's just wrong. And for any of you that used to go to school, years ago, half days were maybe once every 8 weeks, and it was like a holiday. And the half a day that the kids were in school, much to the chagrin of the teachers, it was like a holiday to them. Their mood was different. It wasn't like Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays mood. That's a half a day. That was like a party day. So think about that. That's every day, every Wednesday in our school system is kind of like a party day. So really, effectively, the kids are going to school 4 days a week. It's outrageous. I mean, that is a draconian cut in the quality of our school education. That would be one of the things that I would recommend that we need to restore. A couple other things, class sizes. They just keep growing and growing. It does vary from school to school and grade to grade. But I remember a couple of years ago at town meeting, a gentleman stood up